Hi guys, Unboxing Tech here with the new Google Pixel 9a, and I have a whole bunch of cases for it that I plan on reviewing in this video. So it's a lot to go through, so let's get started. First off, we have the Ringke Onyx case. It's a pretty standard case without any real frills or embellishments. It does have a MagSafe ring in the middle, but other than that, it's just a case made solely of TPU, so it is very flexible all around. It's also pretty lightweight for a MagSafe case at 38.2 grams. In terms of general size, it is very slim as well, with the topmost part being about 2.9 inches to 6.2 inches. Here it is on the phone. There aren't any real gaps, so you can't see any of the purple color peeking through the case. Here is the bottom cutouts. They're all perfectly aligned. Here's the buttons on the side, as well as a strap hole on either side of the case. The buttons are also super easy to press and very clicky as well. The front screen does have a slight lift at the top and bottom, while the sides are kept low so it doesn't interfere with swiping. And the back camera has a slight lift around it as well. And the edges aren't that sharp either. The main points of the Onyx case is that it does have a slight texture on the back. It does feel very soft and not very grainy or gritty at all, so it is easy to hold. Speaking of easy to hold, the Ringke Onyx always has this embossing on the sides that are just super great for gripping the phone. This is one of the easiest cases to hold and grip from all the cases that I've tried thus far. That's why I always like to include the Onyx case whenever I review cases. As mentioned earlier, this case is MagSafe compatible, so it will work with MagSafe accessories like the Snap Grip from Casetify. And it's pretty strong in terms of magnetic strength. It is also compatible with MagSafe charging. All in all, the Ringke case looks pretty plain, but the functionality is really good, and it's always been a personal favorite of mine due to how easy it is to use. So this is a case I do highly recommend if you're not someone who cares too much about the looks of the case, but rather the ease of use that it brings. Next up, I have the Ringke Rugged Gear case. This is also a TPU case, so it is flexible all around. However, it does have the rugged feel overall with the reinforced TPUs at the corner. And this one also has a MagSafe center. This one is slightly heavier than the Onyx case at 45.3 grams. It's also a bit thicker with the widest part of the side being at 3.1 inches and the height being at 6.3 inches. And here's what it looks like. There's a bit more gaps around the camera, so you can see a bit of the purple through the case. And here's a close-up of these reinforced corners. The cutouts on the bottom look perfectly aligned. Here are the buttons on the side. They do have unique textures to them to help identify them without you having to look. There's also strap holes on either side of the case. The buttons are also super easy to press and incredibly clicky. The screen has a lift all around the case this time. It's a very slight lift. The back camera doesn't have the lifted edges around the camera itself, but around the whole of the camera part. Overall, texture-wise, it's not that different from the Onyx. It's still very smooth, though it does have that unique grainy look to it. The sides also have the embossing. That's amazing for the grip. In terms of general usability, it's not that much different from the Onyx, but it is a bit thicker, and you can definitely tell that it does offer some more protection in general. This is also a MagSafe case, so you can use it with MagSafe accessories. And the magnet is pretty strong as well. It is also compatible with MagSafe charging. The Ringke Rugged Gear case is kind of an offshoot cousin to the Ringke Onyx case in terms of just general vibe. However, it does have the extra protection that does make it a little bit heftier and bulkier compared to the Ringke Onyx. However, I do think that this Ringke Rugged Gear case is still slimmer and lighter compared to some protection cases that are just built like a brick. So if you're looking for protection without it being overbearing, this is for you. Next, I have the Spigen Rugged Armor case. This is also a pretty standard case that's made solely of TPU. So it is very lightweight and slim. This one also has a MagSafe in the middle. Oh, and my little bending must have caused some bubbles inside. It's whatever. In terms of weight, it's around the same class category as the Ringke Rugged Gear at 42.5 grams. It is heavier than the Ringke Onyx. It has a pretty even form all around. Width-wise, it is at 3 inches. And at height-wise, it is at 6.2 inches. Pretty standard. And here's what it looks like. There are some design carbon fiber-esque designs on the bottom and top here. The bottom cutouts look to be evenly centered. The Spigen case has a single strap hole just on the right side here. The buttons are covered and super easy to press. The front screen has a lifted edge that's focused around the top and bottom this time, though there are some lifting at the sides here as well. The back camera has an open cutout that's not individually set for the flash and the camera lens itself, so it does leave a bit of an empty space right here. There is a really good amount of lift around the camera lens. I think it's the first time I've been this impressed with the Spigen case's camera lens. Like the Ringke Onyx and the Rugged Gear from before, this does have a slight texture on the back. It's not as soft or smooth as the Ringke Onyx case is. It does have a bit of a grainy sandpaper feel to it. The sides also have a texture to them that's somewhat rough, and it does have little ridges lining up as well. It's pretty good in terms of grip, but I'll be honest, it's kind of uncomfortable to hold compared to the Ringke Onyx earlier. Because this is a MagSafe case, you can use it with MagSafe accessories. And the magnets, oh, I was gonna say it's pretty good. Oh no. Despite dropping it the first 2 times, I have been flailing it around for a bit and it hasn't had the same issue happen, so I think we're gonna give it a pass. It is also compatible with MagSafe charging. So this isn't my favorite Spigen case, but I did choose it because it is very similar appearance-wise to the Ringke Onyx, and I wanted to make a comparison. I think it's a good case if you're looking for protection that's very minimalistic. However, if you want something more streamlined and easy to hold, I would recommend the Ringke Onyx instead. Next up, we have the Dual Guard case from Crave. This is a double-layered case with a TPU inner lining and a hard polycarbonate shell. It is a bit on the heavier side for a non-magnetic case at 49.5 grams, but it is a dual layered, so that's about pretty standard. We're looking at a width about 3.1 inches and a height of 6.3 inches. It's a little bit on the tall side. And here is the navy case on the purple phone. Once again, it doesn't have the full cover on the camera, so there is a bit of the phone peeking through. On the bottom, we have the cutouts that look pretty even. On the side here where the buttons are easy to press and very clicky. The front screen has a slight lift all around it. And the camera, as mentioned before, is not fully covered, but it does still have a good amount of lift around it for that extra protection. The back has a slight pattern on it as well. It does feel very smooth still and not very gritty or rugged at all. The sides have the same pattern. In terms of gripability, it isn't the grippiest case. I would prefer the tough armor from Spigen or the Ringke Onyx and Rugged Gear. It is still pretty easy to hold, though the PC part does feel slightly slippery to the touch. Not bad though. Because this isn't a MagSafe case, MagSafe accessories won't stick to it. However, it should still work with wireless charging. Although any MagSafe chargers you have won't stick. The Crave Dual Guard is pretty minimalistic in terms of appearance. Thanks to the dual layered function, it does still add a good amount of protection to the device. Plus, this case does come available in a bunch of different colors, so you can add a bit of personality to it as well. Next up is the Unicorn Beetle case from SupCase. This is a hybrid case with TPU sides and a hard polycarbonate back. It is on the heavier side at 65.6 grams. And I believe it also adds a fair amount of bulk at 3.2 inches in width and 6.4 inches in height. And here it is with the case on the phone. Because the back is matte clear, it does show off the purple underneath, which I do like. On the bottom, we have the centered cutouts. On the sides, we have the cover buttons that are fairly easy to press. It's not as clicky as I would like, especially the power button. On the front, there seems to be a bit of a fitting issue around the top where you can see a bit of the foam peeking through, kind of unevenly. However, in terms of general screen protection, there is a large lift around the top and bottom of the screen. And the back camera has perfect cutouts around it and a high lift around the camera as well. So going back to looking at that fitting issue, it seems that it might stem from this part that is a metal piece compared to the rest of the TPU frame. It might be interfering with the general fit of the case around the phone because the other sides don't really have that issue. I'm not sure if it affects the functionality of the case and protection level. However, it just kind of does look a little wonky. There's also a kickstand in the center that functions as a MagSafe ring. It's pretty strong strength-wise magnetically. So you can also use it with MagSafe chargers to charge your device. The SupCase's Unicorn Beetle case has a lot going for it. It is super protective, and it has the kickstand in the center that also functions as a MagSafe ring. It does look pretty good too. I do like the clear matte back that doesn't attract any fingerprints as well. However, there are some points to consider in that it is bulky and it's pretty heavy too. Like, I'm feeling tired just from holding it like this. Plus, there was the issue with the frame not fitting right at the top. However, that might just be a defect of this particular case that I have, and maybe other cases don't have the same problem. I haven't tried them, so can't say. Either way, if you're willing to forgo all of that and just want a clear protective case, this is a good choice. Next up, I have the Commuter case from Otterbox. This is also a dual layered case that has the flexible TPU inside and the hard polycarbonate shell. It is pretty heavy despite looks at 50.7 grams. And in terms of bulk, we're at a 3.1 in terms of width and 6.3 for height. And here it is on the device. This blue case looks really pretty on the purple. On the bottom, we see that there's a dust cap for the power port. And aside from that, the cutouts look pretty even. On the sides here, we have the cover buttons that are pretty easy to press and super clicky as well. The sides have a slight ridge around the TPU parts that do assist with grip. However, the PC portion here is really smooth and fairly kind of slippery and not easy to hold. It's a bit inconvenient that it's around the area where I typically would hold my phone. Flipping it over to the front screen, we can see that there is a lift around the screen, particularly at the top and bottom of the case. And the back camera does have this part open. However, there is a good amount of lift around the camera lens for that extra protection. I kind of like the look of this case, though I don't like how big the Otterbox branding is on the bottom. Kind of takes away from the overall minimalistic vibe that it has. This case also isn't a MagSafe case, so MagSafe accessories won't stick to it. However, wireless charging should still work, as we can see. Otterbox is really well known for their protection cases, and I can't say this one's any different, especially thanks to the dual layer design of it. However, this one is a bit on the higher price point, especially in this economy. So if you're looking for a dual layered protection case, I would maybe look at the Crave case that I introduced earlier in the video, because it does pretty much everything that this case does, only cheaper. And those are all the cases that I have for the Pixel 9a. If you're currently on the hunt for a case for your new Pixel 9a, I hope this review was of some help to you. I did leave all the links in the description box, so if you're interested in any of these cases, you can check them out below. As always, thanks for watching until the end, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!